Hello, I believe the dairy journey is doing well. You are going on very well. I believe if you are making losses by now, you should be seeing something close to a positive. I also believe if you wanted to start dairy farming from our dairy farm, dairy restart or dairy revamp journey, you must be having something positive going on. And out of those positive things going on is laying out the structures, laying out a very good organized dairy farm. If you are revamping, by now you know 2 or 3 decisions that you opt to make to convert your dairy farm from a loss-making venture and maybe to a point of break even. Remember, for you to be notified whenever you upload a video, you must subscribe. Let me count 1 to 5, and if you haven't subscribed, you'll have subscribed. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you so much for subscribing. Also like the video and leave us a comment. Today, I want us to focus on the management tools of a dairy farm. What are these management tools that you must know? What are these management tools that some of them your employees should appreciate them? It's a collective responsibility between you and the employees. It's a collective responsibility because each and every person has a role to play. Mostly the employees will be involved in the data collection, but the analysis, and some of them, if you have a manager, is on the analysis, but you as the farmer use that data to make sober decision. On the dairy management tools, there are 2 tools I want us to focus on. One is on the key performance indicator, KPIs, and the second one is on the role of records in a dairy farm. On the dairy KPIs, the most important thing is to appreciate how do you measure success in a dairy farm. Maybe if you are to break down that dairy farm into maybe 4 compartments, that is the fertility, the milk production, the business point of view, that is the milk sales, the heifer sales, and maybe the fodder production. If you are to look at it from those 4 compartments, how are you supposed, and also the 5th one is on the replacement stock. So there are 5 of them. How do you measure growth in those 5 items? Number 1, when you look at fertility in a dairy farm, whether you are starting or you are restarting, there are these things that should tell you whether you are doing very well. Maybe a single insemination. Insemination is, you can see how insemination is a very important aspect. The second thing is how many of your cows are able to give birth. Mature cows, they're able to calve down within a span of 365 days. Are you able to achieve a calving every year in a simpler term? If you're not able to achieve that one, it means there is a gap in your farm. If you want to start a dairy farm, just know this is a very important tool. The other one, for your heifers, are you able to inseminate them when they are between 15 and 19 months? If not, it means there is a problem in your farm. If you start a dairy farm, you should now have a name to achieve that one. That's the first thing, how you measure fertility in a dairy farm. The second thing, on the milk production, from a business perspective, and I remember we said that dairy farming is a business. From a business perspective, you must have the bare minimum that your farm should produce in a day for you to break even, or maybe for you to have decent cash flows. You have that bare minimum, and this bare minimum should be throughout the year, from January 1st to Kiambiana Happy New Year, and December 31st when you are saying it was a good year, or maybe it was a frustrating year and you look forward to a new year. That duration of 365 days, you must have a bare minimum production that can keep your farm afloat. The second one is the bare minimum average, and the word is average, your cow should produce. What do I mean by average? Average is from the time the cow gave birth all the way to the time you dry off that cow. You do the accumulation totals and you divide by the number of days. Ideally, you're supposed to milk your cows for 3 or 5 days. If you surpass that 3 or 5 days, it means there's a problem. Maybe it might not be a big problem. Maybe it's because you are maybe trying to do some hard balancing. Yeah? So you are very skeptical on the insemination dates. Maybe that one can prolong, but if it's naturally it has prolonged itself, it means there's a problem. So that average, the bare minimum average, and I wish us to move to a scenario whereby you say the average production of my cow in 3 or 5 days is 20 liters. Anything over 18 liters should be good. I don't mean that peak production, maybe that is a cow that does over 25 liters. That's one thing you are supposed to consider. The other important thing you're supposed to consider, how many liters am I selling? You might have high production, but you have also a lot of calves in the farm. So the total production is 1,000 liters, but 200 liters goes to the calves. Or maybe the amount of spoilage in a day. That one should be worrying. Maybe you're milking 200 liters, but in a month, at least 5 days your milk is rejected. That is 1,000 liters. If you're selling that one at 40 shilling, it means you are making, your spoilage is at 40,000. So you try to minimize that spoilage, but you also look at the milk sold part of it. The other tool I said, which is very important, that is on milk production. You have done the fertility. The third one is on the heifers, calf and heifers. Just know how many calves you can be able to maintain. Remember, the milk is what is giving us the cash flow. So from this cash flow, just look at the amount of money that you want to spend on those calves and heifers. So what am I trying to say is that you can't maintain all the heifers in a farm, especially if your business model is purely on milk. Maybe you're in peri-urban areas, the core business there is milk, crazy prices of 70 shilling, 80 shilling. So in such a case, you should be very, very, very concerned on the level of you should also be very concerned on the number of heifers that you manage. Another very important aspect that we normally check on the growth of the heifers. At least you're supposed to get anything 800 grams gain per day, 750, 800 grams per day. If you go below the heifer growth, below that one, it means you'll also be in a loss. Another very important thing is how many heifers are you able to sell in a year. If I have 10 mature cows and I want to maintain all the heifers, or maybe irrespective of how I look at it, because cows must give birth for you to get milk, how many heifers are you able to sell in a year? Because the real profit of a dairy farm should come from the numbers of heifers you sell in a year. So that one is a very important aspect you should check on. Lastly, on your heifers, the health part of your calves. Do you spend a lot of money trying to manage the heifer, the health of those heifers? Ideally, I don't think you're supposed to treat your heifers. In most farms that Dairy Networks has consulted for, majority of them, you ask them and they tell you until the point of calving, you have never treated these heifers. Or maybe my heifer is X number of my cow is X number of years and it has never been treated. The structural part of it, the feeding part of it is what will give you such a good milestone. The other one is on fodder. How secure am I? You normally say the bare minimum fodder stock you should have is the one that can last you at least for 6 months on a bare minimum level. But there is one video you have done and you have said that can last you until the next season. You are supposed to check on your fodder level, your fodder supply consistency, your fodder quality, maybe even some lab analysis. Whatever you test in the lab is called the proximate analysis. You check it from that angle. The human resource part of it is another key management tool, and you have done an exclusive video on the same. So it's very, very, very important to make sure that you get so many things right on the management tools. The other item he said is on the records, and on the records you must have all the farm records intact. And the records you are supposed to have is number one, the health records, production records, milk production records, reproduction records, the business point of view records, and any other important records that you are able to have. I want to pose a challenge to you as a farmer, and just to show how your recording is. Maybe majority of us it's poor, but I want us to check on how it is. If you take your oldest cow in the farm, and maybe it has a couple of heifers, if I was to tell you to draw a generational tree, a breeding tree, how would you do that? One, do I know my oldest heifer, the dam and the sire? Now the calf that was born, can I be able to continue with that tree all the way to the end? If not so, it means there's a problem in your farm. Do something, change something, and make sure that your records are up to date. Until next time, kwaheri, and I hope you'll keep it safe. You'll also subscribe, and you'll invite Dairy Networks for trainings and consultancy, also by Superforce Kiwi Nation from us. Kwaheri, see you next time.